Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and we should have the right to be forgotten online, but should that apply to everybody? Now, here's what's going on, and before I dive into this actual case, which I think you guys will find really fascinating, the right to be forgotten is simply this. It is our right to basically remove ourselves from things like Google, any information that we don't want to have out there. If I want to completely disappear from a Google search, I should be able to go to Google and say, hey, remove me from all of the stuff. If there are negative things about me online as well, I should be able to go to Google and say, hey, pretty much I want this stuff removed as well. For right now, the European Union is pretty much the only one on the planet that Google has to adhere to the right to be forgotten. If I am a citizen of the EU, I can submit to Google my request for stuff like this, and Google basically just won a landmark case in European Union court that specified only European Union applies the right to be forgotten. Google does not have to do it universally. Now, here's what's going on. And before I tell you what's going on, the question is, if we have the right to be forgotten, does that also apply to murderers? Should they have that right? And now here's what's going on. Now, this is coming from Germany, but I think it applies philosophically and in theory universally. Now, a German man, and I do not know his name, I did not go looking for him, but basically, he is the center of this controversy. He was convicted in 1982 of murdering two people on a yacht. Now, this case was apparently very sensational in Germany. A book, a TV documentary series, etc., were made in Germany about this case. Now, fast forward to 1999, German magazine Der Spiegel uploaded 3 reports from 1982 and 1983 into their online archive, basically with this man's full name. Essentially on the Der Spiegel website. These articles can still be found if you do a Google search on them, and they'll be pulled up by Der Spiegel. Now, he was released in 2002, and basically he became aware of these articles in 2009 and requested that they be removed. He claimed that these articles violated his rights and his, quote, ability to develop his personality. This is according to court documentation. Now, the courts in Germany initially, throughout the 2012 court ruling, basically because they said that his right to privacy did not outweigh public interest and press freedom. So in other words, he lost his case. But he appealed to Germany's constitutional court, and the constitutional court overturned that decision, and so the case now returns to federal courts. And so this is actually very interesting because you have a person here that basically wants to be distanced from his crime, wants to develop a personality, let's say, above and beyond the crimes that he committed. And now here we are. And so the ramifications of this, I think, are a couple fold here. One, publications basically that keep archival records might have to be forced to remove specific records if they are asked. This man would be able to go to Der Spiegel, for example, if he wins his case and say, remove these articles. He'd also be able to go to Google and say, remove the links to the articles and my name in relation to a double homicide that I committed. You know, the other thing that we have is the public interest here. Are we essentially erasing a history, not just on the person, but in society itself? If this was a sensational case that books and TV documentary series, were made on, this person could be walking around, and as younger generations come up, if they're not able to, let's say, search this individual for whatever reason, whether it's to get employment, which I would imagine would be very difficult for a convicted murderer, or something along these lines, you basically would be erasing the crime from history. Most of us get our information from archival documents. We are not online. We are not going into police stations or federal courts saying, please request information on this person. And I think that's something that we really need to be aware of here. And so where does the line here? If we are not murderers, should we have our right to be forgotten impeded on in any way? And if so, what is the level of crime? If I'm convicted of burglary and nobody was harmed, should I have the ability to, let's say, remove that from a Google search, making it obviously a lot harder to find information on me because I want to, let's say, move on with my life, erase my past? There would be some people that could possibly abuse this, like petty criminals, that might continuously go to Google and say, yeah, erase that, erase that, erase that. I don't know. I'm throwing out the worst case scenarios here. Oftentimes when we're making laws, we're making them the lowest common denominator, but that usually affects the general public in some way, shape, or form. In this case, I think the general public doesn't have this right outside of the European Union, which we do need. But if we do get it, I think we have to understand that there may be limitations to this and what those limitations are. I would hate to think that a Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, would be able to walk out of prison at some point. I understand he's dead, but go with me. And if you don't know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, he's a serial murderer. Basically be able to walk out of prison, go to Google and say, erase every article on my conviction, my trial, my anything, and here we are. So I think, and then change the name, which I think would also be interesting as well. And so that is your news of the day. I think it's a fascinating discussion that we need to have, but your right to be forgotten may not necessarily be absolute, depending on how you've lived your life. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.